New York City, September 11, 2018. As Air India Flight 101E's Boeing 777 descended toward JFK Airport, a sudden cascade of electrical failures crippled its vital systems. The cockpit, filled with a team of four pilots, was plunged into uncertainty. With low visibility, limited fuel, and a crippled plane, the flight crew faced an agonizing decision. Should they attempt an emergency approach into New York, or divert to an airport farther away, where conditions were better, but fuel would be even more scarce? The lives of 357 passengers and crew rested on the next decisions they made. This is the incredible story of how they pulled off the impossible under extraordinary pressure. The journey begins at 2:00 a.m. on September 10, 2018, when Air India Flight 101 took off from New Delhi's Indira Gandhi Airport. On board were 342 passengers and 15 crew members' families, students returning to university, business travelers, all looking forward to their journey home to New York. The flight was long, 15 hours across the globe. The Boeing 777 was at full capacity, carrying over 140,000 kilograms of fuel. As they cruised toward New York, everything seemed normal. But as we'll soon see, things were about to take a dangerous turn. The first warning: trouble in the skies. About 40 minutes into the flight, the crew got their first sign that something wasn't right. A warning flashed on one of the pilot's screens. Single source radio altimeter. The radio altimeter is a crucial piece of equipment. It measures the plane's altitude by bouncing radio signals off the ground much more accurately than the traditional barometric altimeter. The 777 is equipped with 3 radio altimeters for redundancy, but 2 had already failed. At cruising altitude, this wasn't a major issue, but it was just the beginning. A growing crisis. Multiple system failures. As the flight progressed, things began to spiral. Midway over the Atlantic, the crew received another alarming message: TCAS failure. TCAS traffic collision avoidance system is designed to alert pilots about nearby aircraft and suggest evasive actions if a collision is imminent. While not immediately critical, it was yet another system that was failing. The flight crew knew this wasn't just a series of isolated issues. As the plane neared New York, more and more systems began to fail. Then, just before 8:00 a.m., their instrument landing system ILS also malfunctioned. The ILS is the pilot's primary tool for safely guiding the plane to the runway, especially in low visibility conditions. The cloud base at JFK was only 200 feet, barely enough for a visual landing. With their ILS now out of service, the pilots had no choice but to attempt a different approach. Decision time. A risky new approach. Pilots quickly decided to switch to an LAV or VNAV approach. This GPS-based method was far less precise than the ILS, but it could guide them to a point where they could at least visually see the runway. But this was uncharted territory for them, and to make matters worse, their fuel was running low. The tension in the cockpit was palpable. Every second counted. A desperate go-around as they neared the runway. Another problem surfaced: a malfunctioning landing gear indicator. The alarm blared in the cockpit, suggesting the landing gear wasn't extended properly. After confirming it was fine, the crew was faced with the increasingly difficult decision to abort the landing. With the clock ticking, they climbed back up to 2,000 feet for more troubleshooting. Flying low over New York in dense fog, they knew they were running out of time. The question wasn't just if they could land, it was where they could land. The fight for fuel and time. With just 7,000 kilograms of fuel remaining, their options were shrinking fast. The crew considered diverting to other airports in the region, but with the cloud cover too low to make a safe approach at JFK, Newark, or Stewart, they would have to go farther afield. The pilots discussed the possibility of heading to Albany or Boston, but those airports were too far, and they didn't have enough fuel. With only one viable option left, the crew set their sights on Newark Airport, just 50 kilometers south. Final countdown: Newark or bust. The crew's fuel situation was dire. They knew the window was closing fast. If they waited too long, they wouldn't have enough fuel to make it anywhere at all. The clock was ticking, but at least there was a sliver of hope. The weather at Newark had improved just enough to make a last-ditch effort possible. They had one chance. The aircraft was descending into Newark, with emergency vehicles now standing by. But could they make it? The pilots fought through their exhaustion and the mounting pressure, focusing solely on getting the plane down safely. The landing, a perfect storm of adversity. As they descended, their situation became even more urgent. The autopilot struggled to maintain the right approach path. With every passing second, they had to adjust their rate of descent. If they got too fast or too slow, a go-around was imminent, and their fuel would be depleted before they could try again. At just 1,000 feet above the ground, they were too high. The captain disengaged the autopilot, taking manual control of the aircraft. With seconds to spare, they broke through the clouds, and there it was. The runway. The captain pushed the nose of the plane down and banked left, lining up with the runway. It was a risky maneuver, but he had no choice. Touchdown. Against all odds at 8:30 a.m., the Boeing 777 touched down safely on Newark's runway. All 357 people on board were alive and safe. The plane had survived an extraordinary sequence of failures, all thanks to the flight crew's quick thinking and calm under pressure. They had defied the odds. As the aircraft came to a stop, a heavy downpour hit the airport. If the pilots had delayed their decision to divert by just 15 minutes, or if they had tried another go-round, they would have been unable to see the runway through the rain. The mystery behind the failure. But what caused this cascade of failures in the first place? The Boeing 777 is one of the safest, most reliable aircraft in the world, with multiple redundancies in its design. The failure of so many critical systems was unprecedented. Experts believe the culprit might have been a malfunction in the aircraft's AIMS, the Airplane Information Management System. This computer acts as the brain of the plane, managing data flow between different systems. A fault in this system or its electrical buses could have triggered the failures that plagued the flight. It's likely that these issues were present before the flight even departed. Had they been properly addressed during maintenance, this incident could have been avoided. A moment of triumph. In the end, Air India Flight 101E's successful landing was a triumph of teamwork, quick thinking, and a little bit of luck. The flight crew's resourcefulness and calm under pressure saved 357 lives that day. And though we may never know exactly what went wrong with the plane, one thing is certain: this was a story of human resilience, ingenuity, and the will to survive. Special thanks to our supporters on Patreon and YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the links on screen for more great content. Thanks for watching. See you next time for another incredible story.